Hello everybody, welcome back to my new video. Today, as I've written on the screen here, we would be discussing more about taxonomic aids. What do you understand by the term aid? Isn't it something which would help? And what are we looking at for help here? Let me discuss this in detail with you right now. Alright? Okay, let's get started with a dictionary meaning of what is meant by aid. It is typically help, alright, help of a practical manner. To make it much more simpler, I would rather mention it as support in the achievement of something. Mind you, this is the dictionary meaning, right? Aid, when I talk about taxonomic aid, you have to think about something which will help or support in achievement of identifying any living organism, be it a plant or an animal. For example, why do you think identification of plants, animals is required? If, for example, if I am curating or designing or producing a medicine or extracting any medicinal component from a plant, from any plant, okay, then I should be able to identify that plant in nature, be able to extract that medicinal component effectively. If I am looking out for a medicinal plant, which is, for example, a particular species of Syzygium, then instead of Syzygium, if I go around and pluck lot of plants of acacia, that will simply not help me. Instead of producing or obtaining a medicinal component, probably I would end up in extracting something which is not good for the body, which might not suit this medicinal purpose, isn't it? I hope you have understood what I'm trying to explain here. So aid will help us to identify, in this case, appropriately any plant or animal which we are looking out for. I've simply given you an example of extracting a medicinal component from a plant and how best we should know that plant and taxonomy of it. Instead of extracting medicinal component, if we don't know the exact species to which the plant belongs to, we might end up extracting any poisonous material out of it, isn't it? Which might be very harmful. So that justifies the importance of identification in taxonomy. And what might be the role of all these taxonomic aids, and what are these taxonomic aids? So with that, we would be commencing our study about today's topic, that is taxonomic aid. Amongst these taxonomic aid, we would be looking at, in this taxonomic aid, we would be looking at herbarium, right? The second one being botanical gardens, right? The third one being museums. Fourth being zoological garden or zoos. Zoological garden. Zoological gardens, and finally keys. These are not the keys to your house, mind you, okay? So these are some of the taxonomic aids which you should be learning about for your NEET biology. So as always, I would like to insert a few pictures here. Let me go ahead and select from my photo library. Yeah, right, okay. There you go. Here you have a person identifying, trying to, or trying to identify here the person is trying hard to identify something, and in that situation these taxonomic aid which would come into picture, right? Here is the botanical garden at Singapore, which if you have traveled abroad you might know how wonderful and beautifully curated the botanical garden at Singapore is. This is simply line illustration, of course downloaded from the internet. This is an illustration. The third one is the illustration of a zoological garden, right? I will tell you what herbarium is, but in a while. But before going into that, I hope all of you would have visited a zoo, a botanical garden in your lifetime, right? So be in a botanical garden, you might find, or you will rather find, living plants, isn't it? In there, most probably you will find most of you will be finding living plants, and in such well developed botanical gardens such as that in Singapore, or there is one well renowned botanical garden in the England which is known as Kew, that is Kew Royal Botanical Garden. In such places, these botanical gardens would have small little microbiomes or ecosystems wherein situations ideal for that plant growth would be curated or created. For example, if they would like to grow any plant that is from a tropical region, say for example India, then they would create a situation for that plant so that it grows very well. They would provide the similar humidity, temperature, rainfall. All those would be ideal or similar to its natural habitat. Okay. Accordingly, you might have also visited a zoo, isn't it? Might be you would have visited it for fun purpose, where you would be looking around for all living wild animals, right? Here they would be enclosed in different situations, and it is carefully monitored by human beings. Food requirements of these animals, their daily requirements are being taken care of. Why do we have to have a botanical garden and a zoo? Think about it for a while, and you may pause the video to think and get back to me. Okay, now I think you have taken few minutes time to mull over the importance of having botanical garden and zoological garden in your cities. If you have not, you need not stress upon that, worry about it. I would help you understand. Here, as previously discussed, in be it in botanical garden or zoological gardens, you would have seen living plants and animals, right? They would actually help us identify the plants and animals. If you are a taxonomist, if you are a scientist trying to identify something, then these would be beneficial. It would be like a ready reckoner, ready reference to you understanding the natural habitat, the food types, and the area in which the ecosystems in which these plants and animals would thrive well, do well. Here I would like to take an example of you going clothes shopping. If I say that for graduation day, I would like all of you to be dressed up in the same light blue, copper sulfate blue color, and I hand out to you a small piece of cloth, then you would take that piece of cloth to the market or to the textile showroom, and you would show that to the shopkeeper, and he would place the small piece of cloth which I would have given it to you alongside all different blue shades, and he would be able to best pick the copper sulfate blue from there, isn't it? So that small piece would serve as a ready reckoner. Something similar to that is the role of botanical garden and the zoological garden. You're not taking any animal there to help you identify, but you would have noted down few characteristics, isn't it? That would help you identify and place the animal of your interest into the taxonomic categories. We have learnt about taxonomic categories in the previous video. If you have not been through that video, I would strongly recommend you to refer back to my previous video. Okay, now that you have understood the importance of botanical garden and zoological garden, we would move on to what is meant by a herbarium. Herbarium is actually a storehouse of collected plant species. It is a storehouse of collected plant species. All right, and here the plant species are mainly dry, they are pressed, and they are pressed on the surfaces of sheets. I will help you understand what that means. Okay, and these sheets are arranged in a universally accepted classification. All right. Okay. Now, from this definition, you can vaguely understand that herbarium is simply a place where sheets which contain dried plant species are placed, and these sheets are arranged in a universally accepted manner, not in a random manner. Let me change the color of the pen to be able to help you understand and distinguish. Imagine that this is a sheet, we call it as a herbarium sheet. It is made up of a specific thickness of paper. Okay, here you would actually glue, using glue, you will place the plant specimen which has the flower, the leaf and the fruit. Okay, this is just a simple representation of a herbaria. Okay, along with the root system if it is a herb, right? So you would have glued the plant material which is dried onto this herbarium sheet. The plant specimen must have either the flowering or the fruiting material. Okay, this would be used to identify various plant species. See, the process of herbarium making doesn't end with just gluing up the dried plant species. At the right hand corner of the sheet, there will be space provided for the label, wherein you will write down the species to which it belongs to, and you will also write all the taxonomic categories to which this particular plant would belong to. Taxonomic category as in kingdom, phylum, okay, order, class, all those things, genus, family, genus, species, right? So these are the taxonomic categories to which you would assign a plant to, right? Now that you have understood what a herbarium is, you can think of a herbarium sheet which will contain a plant specimen and the label indicating to which family, to which genus or species it would belong to. Now this herbarium sheet or these similar such sheets are arranged in accepted classification. I will not place it according to my classification. I should not be arranging the herbarium sheets alphabetically. I should be arranging them according to a few universally accepted classifications. You know the importance of having binomial names, scientific names, isn't it? Similarly, if you happen to step inside any herbarium, then you would be able to immediately reach out to a particular family, because you know how each family is arranged, and in that particular family you would be able to put your hands on to any particular plant of your interest. For example, if I may ask you to go find out the family to which a P belongs to, PEA, okay, then as I'm a taxonomist or a botanist, I know that it belongs to the family of Fabaceae. So by the time you would have reached that stature, then you definitely know that it would belong to family of Fabaceae, and you know in which order you have to reach to be able to go up to the family Fabaceae within the herbarium, or the room in which all these herbarium sheets are placed accordingly. Okay, this sums up the importance of having a storehouse of collected and dried pressed plants, okay, which is herbaria. And then you might have all visited museums, haven't you? What do you mean by a museum? Think of it for a minute. Museum, does it only have dried or dead plants and animals, or does it have living plants and animals? Think of it. In the previous 2-3 examples, I have given you living plants being gathered or collected in a botanical garden, living wild animals within a zoo, whereas dried plants within a herbaria. Then what might be the importance of having having a museum? All right, you might have thought of it. In the museums, you would definitely museums would be a part, or you might say museums attached to schools and colleges, isn't it? Here museums would have collections of preserved, they would have collections of preserved plants and animals, of course. Preserved plants and animals. See, we would have preserved plants as dried, flat, pressed plant species in a herbaria. So there is no point in having similar such plants in a museum. Within a museum, you might have plants which might be preserved in jars containing preserving fluid or preservation solution. Preservation solutions might be used. Okay, then animals, you might see skeletons of human skeletons, or sometimes animal skeletons. You might also see stuffed animals and birds, right? You might have noticed all this. Now I can imagine most of you saying that, yeah, I have seen them all. Okay, you might have seen stuffed birds, stuffed mammals, right? Also, in the museum, you might have seen insect boxes, right? Insects would be preserved and pinned inside the boxes. All these would be done to be able to help identify taxonomically. Probably, if you come across any new species of plants or animals, you would take it to your nearest museum, then match those characteristics of the species which you have found to the ones that are in the museum. So that would help you identify and associate the species which you have found out to the taxonomic categories which are already present in the museum. Okay. Then moving on to the last aspect of this lesson and also the video is the key. This is not your house key or your office key. Okay. Here these keys would be designed or written in a manner in such a way that they would give you characteristics of either plant or animal. I would leave you with this. I would not describe what keys are. Let me continue with this in the next video because I don't want to elaborate or have lengthy videos. I would like to give you nuggets of information. Let us discuss what these taxonomic keys are in our next video. Until then, please do share, subscribe and like my video. Stay tuned to learn more about NEET Made Simple by PEBBLEZ Pedagogy. Thank you. Until the next time we meet, please stay safe. Take care. Bye.